Hi, welcome to Muqaddimah. My name is Syawish. So about a year ago, I updated my channel's style. I turned on my camera, brought a teleprompter, got some lights, and changed pretty much everything on my channel. The response was largely positive, but there are people who comment that they miss my previous style, which I don't disagree with. I liked how it looked, but it had certain limitations, and today we're gonna talk about that. This video is brought to you by, well, all of you. Thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel and making these videos possible. Al-Muqaddimah is funded only by Patreon, and as you can see, the videos take a long time to research, edit, and produce. It's only because of my patrons that I can put this kind of time into these videos and keep them free from any kind of paywall. So if you want to pledge $1 or more to support the channel, you can head over to my Patreon. The link is in the description. You can also become a member right here on YouTube. There are no benefits attached to it because I don't get the time to work on them. So if you want to support Al-Muqaddimah financially, please go ahead. Otherwise, just like, comment, share, and subscribe. That's also supporting Al-Muqaddimah. So my old template was basically a tabletop with a map and some decorative things around it. The map was sort of the foundation of the whole thing, and it showed some animation such as flags and battles, as well as showing the territories of various empires. On top of that, additional elements came and went, such as images and what I call cutouts. On a layer that was separate from the map view, there were elements such as the scrolls that came up to show the names of figures that I'm talking about, as well as other scrolls for special information, etc., with a timeline on top. This setup, while quite pretty, had a couple of limitations which became quite obvious to me when trying to make my first video on Muawiyah, the first Umayyad Caliph. I've had that script written since 2020, but I never got around to making it because whenever I've tried, I've had trouble finding images for it. Now that was the first problem. Since the map was always on display, it had to be accurate according to what I was talking about, and that just meant that I had to create a ton of maps representing as many years as possible. Since I'm only one person, that meant room for errors because I couldn't possibly do enough research to have the maps be 100% accurate for the years mentioned. Now I only have to show the most vital maps so I can put more effort into them. Second, these videos took longer to produce because they were quite taxing on my computer. Rendering 1 minute of footage took around 2 hours, so a 20-minute video could easily be 40 hours. That's a whole work week. Since my computer was occupied for those 40-ish hours, I couldn't do anything else, and I was battling a very serious Factorio addiction at the time. Third and most important, I always had to keep some images coming and going on screen to keep the video visually interesting. That resulted in a situation where not all the images that were on screen actually had to be on screen. Only some of them did. The ones that did have to be on screen were quite difficult to pick out from all the other ones. Now, for most topics, I didn't have enough images to fill an entire video. I mean, where am I gonna find images for the Umayyad Caliphate, for example? So I just put random images on screen. Now the problem is that those images are meant to represent something by the person who made them. Let me give you an example. This image I have used multiple times to just portray an Islamic court. It's even titled in my collection as Stock-Muslim Court. However, it's not just a random image of a Muslim court. It was made in 1885 by a Spanish artist, and it's meant to depict Rehman III, the Umayyad Caliph of Cordoba. He's receiving an ambassador who's clearly Christian. The architecture around him is clearly from the Umayyad city of Madinat al-Zahra. There's even Muslim Walter White cooking meth on the side. I'm sure you can see the problem. This image shouldn't just be applied willy-nilly to any scenario. It should especially not be used in an Egyptian or Iranian or Indian context, but I've done just that over the past years. In addition to that, I have gathered over the years a ton of images that I use in my videos.
I realized that some of them I use as stock images which can go anywhere, whereas the others are more specific. This is especially true with the more modern images. For example, I know that this is clearly an image from Safavid Iran, so I'm not going to be using it in a video that's not about them. But then this image, which I've used as a stock image, represents something as well. Why use it for videos that aren't about that particular time and place? One of the possible solutions was to commission artists to make images for my videos, which is crazy expensive. Well, not crazy expensive, I mean justifiably expensive, but I have no money. The other solution was to use AI to generate images, which I did think about, but then I saw something last year that soured me on AI completely. We'll get back to that in a moment. So now I've replaced all that. I've done away with the dark browns and gone with a much neater color palette, and the overall style has been simplified. I even hired an artist to design some background patterns and designs for the new slide. Now I'm on camera and images and maps and stuff come when they're needed, not because they have to. This allows me to go into detail about each artifact and tell you a bit more about it. Now, almost all the images I use in my videos come with some kind of textual detail that tells you a bit more about what that image is. Plus, the videos have become easier to make, and I can't really complain about that. That's the reason that my recent videos have been long. I would have never even thought about a 40-minute video on the previous template, but now I've made a video just as long. So why didn't I use AI to fill in the images that weren't available? Well, let's get to that. Last year, I came across a depiction of Baghdad during the Golden Age of Islam, generated by AI. This is not that exact image, but it's also an image of Baghdad generated by AI, so it serves the point just as well. Compare this image to this image, which was generated by Ubisoft Bordeaux for their game Assassin's Creed Mirage. Neither of these images is 100% accurate. In fact, neither of these images probably even 50% accurate, but the one by Ubisoft is actually guided by real history. They had historians working with them, so they could use real historical sources as their guide for what the city might have looked like based on historical accounts, architectural style, the pigments available to the area, etc. On the other hand, the AI one is just a mashup of thousands of images that creates an averaged out result with the dragons flying in the air. I really hope that's dragons and not like paragliders or something. It's generated by a thoughtless, godless machine that has no understanding of history, no understanding of architecture or anything else. It just averages thousands of photos to produce this one. Similarly, the image I showed you before of Abdurrahman III's court is an interesting case study as well. Let's compare that image to this image that I had AI create for me. Compare the main subjects. The oil painting was created almost 1,000 years after Abdurrahman's death, so his likeness is certainly not accurate, but it's still closer to the truth than the AI one. The clothing of Abdurrahman in the oil painting looks much more Islamic than the one made by AI. The AI one makes him look like he's Charlemagne, although both of them ignore the fact that Abdurrahman was likely blonde with blue eyes. Also compare the architecture. The oil painting gets that right, when the AI one doesn't. In addition to that, the oil painting itself is now a historical artifact. At the moment, it's around 139 years old. It was created in Spain, it was inspired by the art around it. It might not teach us a lot about Abdurrahman himself, but it certainly teaches us a lot about art that was being produced in Spain in the late 19th century. I'm not an art historian, so I can't really speak much more on that. I don't know what the AI image will have to teach future historians, other than that maybe we thought that people in the past had very different eyes. Let me give you another example. So last year, someone created this thread on Twitter of AI-generated images of India's emperors. It went viral and was even shared by some Indian news channels. There are 6 Mughal emperors here. The first 5 are, in order, Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan. If you had to guess their ethnicity, what would your answer be? Probably Mongol or Chinese or Central Asian, right? That's where we run into the biggest problem with AI-generated imagery. Take a look at Shah Jahan, for example. He also looks pretty East or Central Asian, doesn't he? Well, in reality, he was 75% Rajput Indian. His mother and grandmother were Rajput. His great-grandmother was also Indian, but she was from Sindh. She wasn't a Rajput. That makes him around 87% Indian. Would a guy that's 87% Indian really look like this? Similarly, his father was 50% Rajput, and he also looks very East or Central Asian. Also, the AI didn't get his mustache right, which I think is the real travesty here. Karolina Zabrowska has a great video on AI's bad historical takes that should certainly be watched as well. So that's the reason that I decided not to use AI for my videos. Now, these new videos take more planning. I have to set up the lights and make sure everything is working, the microphone, the camera, the teleprompter, everything. On top of that, I feel a bit self-conscious when I'm recording. If I make a mistake, I have to find a way to cover it up rather than re-record that part. So that can lead to some problems down the line. Sometimes when I'm editing or finding images for videos, I do come across some sources that might be important to the video, and previously when I was only using voiceover, it was easy to insert that into the video, but that's no longer the case. It's much different here. Although here I'd like to give a shout out to AI, because in one of my videos there was something on my face that I didn't catch until after I was done recording, so I used AI to fix that. So ultimately, this video style that I use now is easier to make. It's more accurate and, in my opinion, more professional. It's also easier to edit in case in the future I want to outsource that part of the process. I haven't yet, but I'm actually considering doing that for my Urdu channel. I haven't made any videos in any other languages because the editing is quite difficult and hence expensive, so I couldn't work on both English and Urdu videos at the same time. So I'm hoping to make videos more often now. So yeah, subscribe. Although none of this would be possible without the generous support of my patrons on Patreon who keep Al-Muqaddimah financially viable and allow me to live in Vancouver, where if you breathe real hard, you get a bill for like $50. So thank you very much to everyone who's here, who's supporting this channel financially, or just by watching the video, sharing it, leaving a comment, and everything. I really appreciate you all. See you next time. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon. On the screen right now, you can see the names and tiers of the patrons. You can join them by pledging $1 or more to support the channel. Thank you for watching.